Let's get started. Today's word, relationships. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. This is QCC, Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. My name is Dr. Joy, and today we have a special guest, a dear friend of mine, Dr. Dana. Dana, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, my name is Dr. Dana Carthron, but you can call me Dr. Dana. I am a nurse practitioner here in Michigan, currently with Michigan State University, but I will be back in North Carolina in August at North Carolina Central. Whoop, whoop. So I'm excited about that. Um, I've been a nurse for years, former military. I don't know what else to say. 5 kids, a ton of grandkids. Um, and I'm just doing what I do.
All righty. Well, I think this is fitting because today we're going to talk about relationships. And since everybody is in quarantine, or you're supposed to be in quarantine if you're not an
Right.
essential worker, we're going to talk about relationships and maybe the impact from a health standpoint, the relationship. So let's get started. Let's talk about relationships with your partner or your significant other. What have you seen has maybe impacted or is a problem or maybe something that's positive that's happened with relationships with partners or significant others right now?
Well, I'll start off with something positive. One of the things that I've seen is that a lot of couples have been able to kind of reconnect because they've had such busy lifestyles. One is they're both career oriented. One's going one way, one's going the other, and they really only are able to kind of talk or connect with the children. So they've really been able to connect and get grounded again, not with just the children, but with themselves as a couple, which is really important because you know how it is. We get super busy, and the only connection we have a lot of times is the kids and making sure that they're taken care of. And I think we forget to take care of ourselves as a couple. We forget how to do that. So if nothing else, that's a good thing with the quarantine. And now there are some negatives too, because those same people, or, in the same situation, some of them have forgotten how to connect. So they don't know, or they have a lot of difficulty talking to each other, because I think they've forgotten um, what brought them together in the first place, what interests, things like that.
The
Um,
conversational part of the relationship.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So sometimes they start to get on each other's nerves and things like that, which honestly is that's normal. That's normal. But
Right.
when you've forgotten how to talk to your partner,
Right.
that's a problem.
So, what advice do you have to couples now? Are there like must do's every week that they should incorporate in their new routine that they have? What can they do to continue to build a healthy relationship during the quarantine?
I think it's necessary to have couples time. And if you have younger kids, that can be difficult. I realize that. But it may be something to where you have to get up a little earlier and have coffee or have a little breakfast or have a little prayer time, have a little meditation with each other before the day gets started. Or in the evening, once the kids go to bed, have just a little candlelight time, maybe a couple of drinks, and just have some deep conversations with each other. Conversations that you normally wouldn't have because you really didn't have the time. So it's just a matter of putting in that effort to make sure that you have those conversations. We've had a lot of conversation, believe it or not, over Netflix. We've watched Netflix documentaries and things like
Okay.
that. And so we've
Okay.
been able to have conversations and differing of opinions because we're two different people.
Exactly.
So sometimes we butt heads, but it's usually a good conversation because we have different perspectives. So it's just a matter of trying to make that time for each other.
And so, have you noticed anything specifically for you, or maybe you can offer to another female? Um, as far as being self-conscious about still being healthy, even in a relationship, because I've seen posts on Facebook and I've heard other people having conversation, this time together. Yeah, I love you, but it's kind of wearing on me. So what advice do you have to people, even with couples?
Yeah. And I get it. That time is great to a point. But you can't tell me that my husband doesn't look at me sometimes and say, I just want to choke her. Because I'm tired of looking at her, and it's the same thing for me. But for myself as a woman, I think it's very important that we participate in self-care. And I think we forget that because now we're trying to make 3 meals a day we weren't before because we were working, and it's funny because let's be real. A lot of, all of a sudden, a lot of men was like, well, you're not going to cook. Well, I ain't been cooking. You looking for breakfast? No, you better get some of that Apple Jacks in the kitchen. You haven't seen bacon and eggs from me in years. so you have to participate in that self-care, having some time by yourself, and it's okay to be by yourself sometimes without your children, without your husband, getting in a quarter, reading a book, or listening to some music by yourself. Having a glass of wine in the bathtub and just kind of relaxing, what have you.
And finding
Sometimes you have
way to keep the kids away.
Yeah, go away. Also engaging in exercise. And I know, it's a little harder because, a lot of people wanted to go to the gym, what have you. But the quarantine, yes, they want us to stay home. However, they didn't say that you can't exercise or anything like that. So you can go out and walk through your neighborhood, making sure, you're socially distant with a mask, what have you. But get that walk in. I know this sounds crazy, but I have a Fitbit. And so I step in the kitchen. I'm not kidding. I do 30 to 45 minutes just stepping because I'm lazy, but step in the kitchen and get my steps in that way. And I'm, sweating, what have you. But I'll be honest, I said I am not coming out of quarantine 10 and 15 pounds heavier than when I started. I'm sorry. I'm just not. So 2-3 pounds I can deal with. But no, if I got to change a pant size, that's an issue. But making sure, I'm just saying. So making sure that you take care of you. Now, one thing that we tend to do as women, and I'm gonna need y'all to work on this, being at home, and I know you get bored, get off Amazon. You better not have one more box come to your.
I'm guilty of that.
I know you are. And the thing is, because the postal service is a little bit slower and things from overseas are slower, you don't even know what you bought. It's like, ooh, surprise. But
it's so for real surprise too.
Yeah. So I think we need to stop that, because my thing is, you don't want an argument with your husband. Stop buying all that stuff on Amazon.
Well, I'm single, so I just have to have my conversation with my credit card people. But it's I want to comment also on what you had stated about Netflix. So while I am watching the show, a TV show or something, I actually started watching HGTV, trying to get some ideas about the home now. But while I'm watching the shows, I'm getting my steps in that way too. So it's working.
Do it during commercial breaks. You can do it during commercial breaks, and step until the program comes back on.
Right. So other ways for self-love, and let's talk about, let's continue with that. Let's talk about how being alone, again, someone like me, how being alone, because I'm empty nesting, both of my children are out of the house. It's just me and the dogs. How being in this can have an impact on your mental and your emotional state, and what you can do. Of course, you have friends that you can bounce ideas off of. But I feel that even in this time, it's been a creative time for me. But I know that some people are having a hard time just adjusting. And I'm seeing more and more posts about, staying positive. But sometimes it's hard to be positive as much as you try. I mean, so what advice do you have to someone who may be struggling as a single person right now?
I think it's important to reach out to people. And I know that's hard for some people because some people are introverts. but it's important to step out there and start reaching out to people. Um, Zoom is amazing. And I think people need to use Zoom a little bit more to connect to family, connect to friends, because there is a certain amount of social isolation that's going on. And a lot of people are having a really hard time with that. And even introverts, because, even though you like being, kind of in your own little space, there are times when you want to connect with other people.
Right.
So I think it's important to um, Zoom, things like that, and call people, because sometimes it's hearing their voice, what have you, but staying connected. Um, I know another thing that we've lost the art of is writing a letter. It's cool to get a letter or a card in the mail, so, maybe you can do kind of like a pen pal thing, even though you know where they are and it's not, who they are, but like a little pen pal thing with a friend, so you can get something in the mail, something to look forward to, something to continue to be connected.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Things like that.
And so for the older people, I know you had mentioned Zoom. There are some of the older people who may not be as tech savvy.
Hmm.
So the writing of the letters still keeps them connected too in these
Right.
times. I know my grandfather is 99, so I try to
Yeah.
keep the conversations going, but I do try to just send letters to him also to just kind of keep the spirits up, because we are limiting who can visit him at this time.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
we don't want anything to happen, but I still want him to know that he's thought of
Yeah.
here.
And my stepdad, who is hard headed, I love him to death, but he it's a good and a bad thing because he's 81 and Lord, he learned how to text. So I get text messages all day
That is
long.
so
Do you know
cute.
you can crust chicken with cornflakes? I'm like, Dad,
That's
what? And then
adorable.
that's all he'll say. Or he'll say stuff like, I put the ham on 350. And that's literally all he'll say in the text message. And he'll be talking about something that happened 2 weeks ago. You know, but at least we can connect that way. But
That's
you
amazing.
know,
That's amazing. And then they just want to, it's a new tool for them and they want to just keep it going. So I love it. So let's talk about relationships with other family members. I
mhm.
had a few, I had a colleague send me an article about relationships that may be building up tension because you with the younger generation, especially millennials, with them being out of school right now, and
Mhm.
it's not a regular out of school. It's not like a break. It's a break.
Right.
So just
Right.
the difference of personalities, because now they maybe experience something different at the
Mhm.
college level. So now they're home, and yeah, they think they a little more grown than possibly that they should be. So there's tension there. What
Yeah.
advice do you have to maybe parents, mothers with daughters, or mothers
Yeah.
with sons? What advice do you have there?
Well, I am old school, first of all. So, I mean, and I do realize that, they've grown or what have you, but number one, it's my house. So you had to abide by those rules, period. But I do, understand, and I'm cognizant to the fact that they've had some experiences, what have you. So one of the things, because my daughter's 19, just finishing up her first year of college, and giving her space. When she wants to emerge from her room and hang out with us or what have you, then she does that, and sometimes we pull her out a little bit, but um, and she's connecting with friends or what have you. So we just kind of make sure that she has her own space and what have you. We do want to make sure that she stays involved with the family and you know, game night and things like that, because we are a big Uno family. And I will tell you, I have never been nice or what have you to kids with Uno. You could be learning at 3 years old, and I will whoop your behind. I figure you got to learn. Oh, it is what it is. But involving them in that way. I do want to say this point before I forget, though. Because I know it's important to connect with family and what have you, but this is not the time, because remember, I'm big on mental health. I'm big on mental health. I'm big on taking care of you, this is not the time to be reconnecting with toxic family members that you know you couldn't handle before. So why would you handle them in a time, you know, when you know with something else that's already dealing, changing our mental health?
Okay.
This is not the time. You can check on them and say, "Oh, how you doing? I just wanted to check on you," and then that's it.
Keep it
You
moving.
know, yes, you don't have to be pulled back into that. I've had to cut off, family members for my own sanity to take care of me.
Right.
So just to feel that I've done my due diligence. Hey, how you doing? Just thought I'd check on you. Okay, good to hear that. And then you may not hear from me for a while, but at least I've done my part. But this is not the time to get back into those toxic relationships. And sometimes you may not even be able to do that. If you know for sure it's going to pull you back into the toxic relationship that you don't need to be in, don't go there.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Don't feel guilty about that. That's okay.
And another thing, there are, because for the younger people, I've seen situations where, because they are home more, then there are adults who may not know how to better express themselves, and so they're lashing out on the
Hmm.
children. So anyone who is watching, who is in a situation like that, feel free to contact me or contact someone that you trust, so we can get you
Absolutely.
the right help that you need to be able to have the conversation, or to get you the assistance that you need, so you will not continue to be in a toxic relationship. So I do want to say that too.
And also people, you have to think about those who are in domestic violence situations and making sure that they know that those resources are still there. Even with COVID, they're still there. And so they can reach out and get some help to be safe. Those resources are still out there.
Okay, and under this post, I'll list some of those resources if you're having a hard time and you're dealing with some mental health. And I'll also list my contact information if you just want to reach out. I will be the listening ear that you need. I definitely want anyone to know that there is somebody out there for you. So I want to say that. So any last final thoughts, Dr. Dana?
Um, just know that it's a hard time, and it's a hard time for everybody. Continue to try to move forward and do the best you can in your relationships. Know that it's okay that you argue sometimes, because it happens. And what you need to do is go into your separate corners and just kind of try to, work through it with yourself. And then you can kind of talk to your partner. Like I said, I've been married, it'll be 20 years on the 29th of this month. Thank you. Thank you. The
Congratulations.
struggle has been real, because I think the issue in love him to death, but he forgets I'm queen of everything. So sometimes he forgets that piece. But, we have to go to separate corners and just kind of, relax, and then we can kind of calmly talk about it and talk about our feelings. And, sometimes you have to write those feelings down because you can't, if you're like me, my mind is going 100 miles an hour. So I write down my points that I want to make. And so, let him get his points out and then I get my points out and we go from there.
And another thing, this may not be the time if you are not, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're not happy with yourself or you're dealing with something right now, this may not be the time for you to be chronic with your dating online. This may not be the time for you to try to reach out to someone. Um, do you have any advice with that, or do you agree or disagree? Or
This is not the time. And that's twofold. One, as you said, if you need to work on yourself, this is the perfect time to do that. You have some time to kind of meditate and pray and figure out who you are and where you need to be before you can move forward into a relationship. Because if you don't have self love, if you don't have self worth, if you don't know what your plan is, because to me, um, you got to have a plan moving forward. If you don't have those things, it's very difficult to be in a relationship, where you can grow. And I forgot the second part of the question.
About the chronic dating online, maybe?
Oh my Lord. Yes, no. And I'm going to go with the health perspective on this because I did a interview recently where I discussed COVID. And oh my word, one of the issues that I'm having, and not just dating online, I've had to tell people this is not the time to be going and having booty calls. Sorry. Because it's, going out, as I'd like to say, in that COVID air. And you should be in your household. You don't know where that person has been.
Exactly.
And of course, you have to worry about STDs, what have you, but you got to worry about COVID too.
Right.
So that you don't know where they've been, what have you. This is not the time. This is not the time to date online. Now, it's okay to have Zoom dates and things like that. I think that's fun. I recently saw Common and I always forget her name.
Tiffany had it.
Tiffany Haddish. Yes. And they have the cutest little Zoom dates. And she goes around and they get dressed and they have dinner together. So that is fun. And then once it's over, you can, kind of go out and have your dates that way.
Right.
But however, if you are not in the mindset to where you are in love with you, that's the best way to put it. If you're not in love with you yet, you don't need to be going trying to love somebody else right now. You just don't.
It's just not the time. It's
Right.
not.
And I
And
love me some me.
I mean, and until you get to the level where you're with Dr. Dana, love you some self, right? Self love, though. Seriously, it's extremely important. There are some things that I know personally that I've had to deal with, and what I do as a coping mechanism is to write. So find whatever it is that works for you and do that. I mean, this is absolutely the time for you to take advantage of getting it out in however way you need to express it. You may be an artist, you may want to draw or paint, or I don't know, be expressive with making things. Do that because this is the time for you to reconnect with yourself. And it's
Absolutely.
to do that. So okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Dana. I appreciate you coming on and
I'm
continue
excited. Thank you for having me.
with relationships. Um, we're going to do a couple more series. We'll have some more conversation. Everyone who's listening, feel free to make a comment below the video. I welcome any comments or suggestions or thoughts that you have with today's broadcast. And thank you, everyone. Again, this is QCC Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. My name is Dr. Joy. Have a great day. When thinking about building and maintaining your relationship with your partner, be creative, reconnect, watch a movie, have a date night, make a picnic outside away from the children. Find the time to be together. When you think about reconnecting and the relationship with your children during this time, remember, give each other space. But then find the time to reconnect, play a game, watch a movie, avoid social isolation. And nothing is more important than having the relationship with yourself. Give yourself me time, exercise, be mindful of your spending, think positive, and reach out to others. Like we stated, write a letter, walk around the house during the commercials, paint or write or draw. And remember, if you are single, still avoid social isolation. Try not to reconnect with toxic relationships because you may feel a little lonely. I'll repeat, do not reconnect with toxic relationships. Be mindful of your spending and practice self love. And if you really want to date, think about this first. Are you happy with yourself? Do you love yourself? And have you healed from previous relationships? Be mindful of what you're bringing into the relationship and how that can impact the new relationship and whether it can be positive or not. I've included the domestic violence hotline, 1-800-799-7233. and the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Be mindful also that you have your healthcare provider as an option and 911. And here is my contact information, phone number 910-390-2765. You can call or text that number or email me at joy@joylo.com. Take care. This has been QCC, Quarantine Chronicles and Creations. My name is Dr. Joy.